40 here, Big 550 KTRS. A couple more minutes with our guest. Senator John Danforth is with us. Senator, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. I went back and watched Tom Schweik's announcement speech, and the last 15 minutes of his speech talked about exactly what you're talking about, which is campaign finance, the politics of personal destruction. When you were talking with him, whether it was that last conversation about the Jewish campaign or not, it seemed like he was well aware of what he was going to have to put up with to become governor.
Yeah, I mean that was some announcement speech. It was very tough. He was a reformer. That was the heart of Tom Schweik, and he saw that something was terribly wrong in Jefferson City. He thought that something was terribly wrong with money in politics and with how that money was being used for purposes of destroying people. And that was going to be his campaign to run against it.
Where does this state go now? What does the Republican Party do? Well, we should say it's not just Republicans; it's Democrats as well. I mean, we can certainly pick any Democratic primary race. The one here in the St. Louis County with Charlie Dooley and Steve Stenger got ugly there for a time. So, what are we to do going forward with all of this?
I think this is in the hands of the public. You know, I think what's happened in politics is that politics has been taken away from the people. It's no longer government of, by, and for the people. It's government of, by, and for the professionals. It's candidates who want to get themselves elected, and that's basically all they do is run for office. So, I mean, the government itself is gridlocked. The candidates are off running for office all the time. It's the funders who have put in huge sums of money that have swamped what average citizens can do. It's consultants who have turned campaigns that should be about, well, what's the future of the state or what's the future of the country into smear campaigns. And all of this affects how politics should work. Politics should be the opportunity for the average citizen to weigh in on what's the course of the country or the state supposed to be. And that's been taken away. And so the response has to come from the public, and it has to be from people who get in the face of the politicians and who ask them very pointed questions. When these commercials are run, go up to the candidate who benefits and say, does that commercial square with your values? Tell us how. Or when the candidate hires some so-called political consultant who's really kind of a hitman or a thug and known to be such, please explain to me, candidate, please explain to me, why is that person on your payroll? And to keep track of where the money is coming from and who is paying for what. I think that that's what average citizens can do to try to take politics back and put it in their own hands where it belongs, because right now it's in the hands of professionals, candidates, funders, consultants, who will do anything, including destroying people's reputations and even lives, do anything to work their will, and that has to be changed.
Do you think Missouri should put caps on limitations? Or caps on contributions, I should say.
Do I think it should? Yes, but I think the U.S. Supreme Court wouldn't allow that. So if it were done, it would have to be done by a lot of public pressure for some sort of voluntary limitation. But I think probably very, very good disclosure laws would be helpful.
But Missouri has unlimited campaign contributions for individuals to candidates.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. I mean, but it can all be circumvented. You know, you just have the independent committee or an individual. I mean, if you had some super rich individual, which I think is not unusual, some super rich individual, and that super rich individual decides, well, I've got my political agenda, and I'm going to push my political agenda no matter what, and so I am going to put in, you know, the lion's share of the funding for a candidate, and essentially buy the allegiance of the candidate, and then I'm going to put money into these consultants, and I'm going to destroy anybody who stands in my way. So even if, under that situation, even if there were limits on what candidates could get from any individual, the possibility of using these independent committees or political action committees is unlimited.
Do you think, Senator, you mentioned it earlier, do you think that there are good people who would do good work in the life of politics as politicians, whether it's councilmen or mayors or governors or senators, but they choose not to get in because they're afraid of what they have to put themselves and their family through?
I have no doubt about that. I mean, those are the two examples I cited earlier from people I talked to just last week. One person said, I'm not going to speak out on the Schweik business because I'm scared of these people. That was the quote, I'm scared of these people. And then the other man saying, well, I'm not going to get in politics because my son is gay, and I'm afraid that he would be humiliated by this. So, yeah, I'm sure. And what decent person would want to get into politics? I mean, you're going to get into this buzzsaw. You're going to be beaten up, and the thing is, government doesn't work. I mean, that is, if it were for some good cause, I want to be elected to, you know, Congress or the state legislature so I can do good work. Well, it's so bollocksed up by gridlock that what's to be done when you're there? So what the people do once they're elected is they just run for the next election. This is a phenomenon in politics. It used to be that campaigns started just a few months before the election. Now, in this campaign for governor, it started years before the election. So instead of politics serving the public interest and people in public office serving the public interest, people run to get elected, and once they're elected, they start running again. So it's all me, me, me. You know, it's all what can I do for myself? And I think the effect of all of this, the huge amounts of money, the consultants, the candidates who are pretty much exclusively interested in getting themselves elected, is that the average citizen has been marginalized, pretty much shoved aside. And so I think that there's just a lot of cynicism, particularly by younger people, who say, why bother? You know, why bother with this messy situation? But the good news is it is possible to reclaim it. It is in the hands of the public. But I think it's going to take a public that is ready to stand up to the bullies, and a public that's ready to push back, and a public that's ready to say, government belongs to me, and politics is my way of participating in government. It's not this no-holds-barred victory at any cost possession of the professionals.
Senator, we're out of time. One more question for you. I started the conversation this morning asking you if you would change anything with the homily you gave a month ago. You said you wouldn't. Let me ask you this question. If you had to do it again and you were a young man and you were thinking about getting into politics, with the lay of the landscape right now, would you become a politician, or would you find a different profession considering what's going on now?
I would hate to be in politics now. I would just hate it because I think it's just so dysfunctional. I couldn't imagine it. But if I were to go into it, it would be, all right, I'm going to be prepared to lose. I know that, that all the money and the consultants and so on will be ginned up, but I'm going to go to battle. And that, to me, win or lose, would be worth doing.
Senator Danforth, thank you for your time.
Thanks, McGraw.
You got it. Senator John Danforth, ladies and gentlemen, joining us for the full hour. Lots of conversation, lots to get to, lots to digest. We will have the entire interview up on KTRS.com. We'll also tweet it out and Facebook it out. If you've missed any of it or you want to go see it again, we'll certainly get it up and out here as soon as possible. 9:51, Big 550, KTRS.